Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being in such large numbers this morning for our controversy, AI reconciling virtual and real worlds. This morning we have Elisabeth MORENO, President of Ring Africa and Digital Women, and Matthieu, General Director of SIA Partners, to come back to the question of generative AI and the launch of ChatGPT in November 22. Since then, we've seen frenetic activity in investment in AI, with new announcements almost every week from companies and organizations who have decided to start developing these software. We heard the recent launch of ChatGPT 4.0, making it possible to give live answers to questions and to making it possible to read. And also we have QTai, a French company, developing an AI solution capable of answering voices. So there's many different innovations, and at the same time we've seen the emergence of a lot of worries and concerns about the role that AI is going to play in our lives every day and in our work as well. Some people are afraid that AI might replace the white-collar workers and the work of writers, and even the many different types of work. And because of this wave of concerns, we are going to have the pleasure of talking to our two guests. I'll start with you, Matthieu, COURTECUISSE, first of all. Concerning our theme, according to you, how do you think AI is going to enable us to rethink our social interactions? Thank you for your invitation. It's a very good question. I'm thinking that rather than talking about theory in this session, better to invite onto the stage an avatar or two avatars. So with our AI team, we have prepared an avatar for Elisabeth to be able to see whether today it is capable of thinking like her, or to replace her, or whether we could reproduce us or replace us. The question is, how is artificial intelligence going to get us to rethink about our social interactions? I'm going to ask the avatar. So, how does artificial intelligence make us rethink our social interactions? It takes a little while to prepare its answer. I'm asking my avatar. I've called this avatar. I've called the avatar Lisa. If it had been me, I would already have answered. So we have a network issue. That's what it is. The problem with the network. No, it's going to work. It's going to work. I just need to fill in a little bit while it's working. Okay, I've got the answer. So I hope it's going to work. Okay. Artificial intelligence is a wonderful lever to transform the world, the way in which we interact, but it will never completely replace social interactions. Seeing AI as an ally capable of improving our communication and overcoming barriers such as geographical distance. However, it will never replace empathy or understanding. It is specific to human relations. It's vital to find a balance between our technological interactions and our interpersonal relations. AI gives this new way of interacting without replacing our authentic human connections. So does that correspond to what you would have said? I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed because I think it is just copied what I've already said. In fact, it just recorded it. No, so in that sense, it's impressive. It's also impressive to see how the tone of voice is similar to mine, and I hope I don't talk in such a robotic way. I think that this little exercise you've done shows that artificial intelligence is only intelligent to the extent that humans give it intelligence, because if in the end you had not asked the question in the right way, if you hadn't guided it in its search so that it knows who Elisabeth MORENO is, the person who's going to be on stage today, I can tell you that there would be some Latino bimbo in South America who would not have said the same thing as me, even though she also is called Elisabeth Moreno. So this means we have a few years to come before AI is going to replace me. I don't want to frighten you at all, but all it needed is to have 2 minutes of capturing your voice to be able to replicate it. This means that compared to anybody who's spoken up in the room here today, the capacity to impersonate somebody is something that can be done with anybody. You are a public personality. We've been able to collect information about what you've said previously in this subject. But in reality, it's not very expensive. It costs about a few €100 to do that. And we've really swallowed everything you've published over many years on this subject. So we can also see that in the cyber threats, we are entering a new era. You have people working in the banking sector, for example, who are here. If you want to call your bank to ask for a bank transfer, somebody who is not been notified in advance, this is very easy to do. It's not rocket science here. We're talking about a world where virtual and real worlds are completely merged, in fact. This is interesting, nevertheless, above and beyond this little joke that we've done just now. It's interesting to think that, okay, we've done this exercise, which isn't dangerous at all. But as you said, let's imagine each one of us in this room today, that our voice and the tone of voice, our words and the way we think could be captured. When it's done by somebody who's well-meaning, that's fine. But when it's done by somebody who is well-meaning without your authorization, it starts to become a little bit less acceptable. When it's done by somebody who I intentionally want to do something dangerous for you, I want to attack you, that becomes very dangerous. And when you say that it just needs a few €100 to do this, at a particular time when at the moment we have more and more fake news circulating everywhere in a breathtaking manner, imagining perhaps that our identity could be stolen in this way is something that I find very concerning. And I almost want to say to you, Matthieu, I can see how you use AI within your company to increase performance, to make your employees more effective and more efficient. I'd like to ask you, what does a company like SIA Partners do when you need to protect the identity of somebody who are building this artificial intelligence? In the same way as we're able to produce this, we can also control whether it's artificial intelligence doing it or human people doing it. But the techniques are changing very, very quickly and evolving. We also have to increase the cybersecurity technology using AI, to have a counter AI, to be able to have an adversarial strategy. And it's true that in the world of work, here we've seen the slightly negative aspect of it, but it also makes it possible to augment a lot of different things. It means you can prepare your activity in advance. For somebody who goes into a shop, they can be helped when they, if they're working in a shop, it can help them help their customers and guide their customers. It can be used in many different contexts. You need to see it as a method for augmentation rather than for replacement. So we're augmenting people, not replacing them. So our human interactions, I don't know if you remember that period during COVID, where at the beginning of the lockdown, we were very happy to work in our offices, in our bedrooms or in our kitchens, with pajamas on, with pajamas and trousers and a lovely shirt, a smart shirt at the top. We remember that after a while that human interactions, this made us realize that human interactions are very important if we want to be more effective and very committed and give real meaning to our work. When we're talking about committed employees, and we realize that already today, where AI is not fully deployed yet in the world of business, you can ask yourself the question, maybe artificial intelligence is going to even kill these human interactions even further. When the lockdowns were over, a lot of people no longer wanted to go back to the world of business, and the companies, they didn't want to socialize. They wanted to stay locked down. So if you push AI right to its full extent, I'm wondering whether we might not be in this situation once more because you're feeling uncomfortable at work, because you don't like your boss, or because your colleague was rude to you, or you're under pressure. Isn't this going to even more cut us off from our human interactions with each other? I don't have the answer to that, but what I do know is that there will be different possibilities. The capacity to develop digital twins is something we'll be able to do in different ways. It could be a way of providing assistance. If we're talking about AI today, it's seen as rather very much a software. But in fact, very quickly the world is going to be populated by humanoids. This is going to take place in the next few months or years. It's already taking place in logistics warehouses. It's going to take place very quickly, and we're going to have all of these different possibilities that are going to arise. It might involve the withdrawal of some people from their work in their daily activities, but I'd also like to see the positive aspect, the question of adaptation and cultural transformation. And I'm sure there will be many new opportunities for jobs as well. As it's we're having this discussion today, and I'd like to say that when you say that the world is going to be populated by more humanoids, that's probably true, but at the same time, we're also going to create more and more inequalities. One thing that strikes me, when digital started to be used, I hoped that this tool would be made accessible to everybody so that everybody would be able to benefit from it. What's happening today, 20 or 30, almost 30 years later, is that we realize now that we have started to worry about how the world has become digitalized. Whereas when you were saying that some jobs, some of the least valued jobs, or jobs which could be easily robotized, when this was the situation, nobody was very worried about it. People started to get worried about the jobs that were going to be replaced by digital because of AI, when it started to affect jobs such as lawyers or consultants and doctors and this kind of profession. What I fear is that this galloping AI may only be accessible to a certain number of people, to a certain category of people. This means that the social inequalities that exist today are going to be further accentuated, and it's very likely that the jobs that are going to disappear the first are the jobs done by people with a low level of qualifications, not many possibilities of adapting to this new digital world. And so legitimately can ask the question of whether this artificial intelligence is going to reduce social inequalities or whether it's going to, unfortunately, accelerate and accentuate these social inequalities.
Well, in terms of inequalities, yes, I agree. It's really a societal issue here. The development of AI corresponds to two economic imperatives. Beyond social aspects, it's to respond to the aging of the population. That is a real topic. And the development of humanoids, you just go to Korea or Japan, you will better understand that they are faced with the aging of their population 15 years ahead of us, but it's a social imperative for them, for different trades, and there's another imperative for care, for example, is productivity. Yes, but the care trades accompanying the elderly, yeah, just to establish the link, the trades of care with humanoids and artificial intelligence. Okay. No, I think what's interesting with artificial intelligence, and I think you said that clearly earlier, is that it's to augment humans. I can imagine that a company like SIA Partners, if it's AI that will cover all these consulting activities that are extremely tiring or boring, and you know, people will, you can analyze 1,000 pages of a report for a client and say, here we can imagine that the human will be augmented with this, but on care activities, instead of enabling the human beings to save time, to enable humans to do better, to do what they're better at, it's possible that we give AI, we hand over our human relationships to humanoids. Is that what I understand? No, take retirement homes, for example. If there's a deficit of employees, like in Japan or Korea, you can take people, you know, the cleaning activities be covered by humanoids. And so you can use the very small number of people you have available to accompany elderly people, to have exchanges with them and things. So you reallocate. And regarding the white-collar activities, there are studies showing that the use of AI as of today enable potentially to reduce over a 40-hour work week, 6 or 7 hours of difficult work, automating certain tasks and everything. So beyond the social aspect, what will we do with this productivity? Will we eventually move to a 30-hour work week or 4-day week, work week, or will we maintain the same system? These are social choices, societal choices. And also we have to deal with social inequalities. But in terms of inequalities, what I'm concerned with today are inequalities between countries, notably those countries who produce these technologies versus those who only use them. And so the gap, the chasm that exists, look at the GDP of the US or Canada compared to Europe since the COVID, the gap is incredible. And we are at the beginning of this trajectory. So we need to go back to economic competitiveness in terms of technology and innovation. We need to deal with both these aspects. And here I think not only do I fully agree with you, I was convinced that this fourth industrial revolution, that is the digital revolution, would benefit to emerging countries. I'm thinking of the African continent, that really needs such tools to ensure its development and ensure its development leap. But we see today is that artificial intelligence only works if you have electricity. Then today you have more than 600 million people on the African continent don't have access to electricity. So how can we imagine that these people will have access to these technologies they need for their development? And then when we're talking about resources, let's talk about human resources, and you will not be surprised, I will talk about women. We have today less than 30% of women in Europe, back to Europe, less than 30% of women in industrialized countries, in so-called developed countries, that are interested with digital activities. They or who will consider cybersecurity or AI. So only 30% are interested in these work, but they use these tools permanently, every day, each and every day, sometimes without even realizing or even being aware of the risks linked with these trades. And the third resource I would like to talk about, this is more global, is that in order to make AI fulfill its promises and benefit to all, it will involve planetary energy resources that we do not have today, no longer have today. So how will we benefit from an obvious technological progress that will only serve part of the population, second, that will consume more than we can afford or overexploit our resources, and thirdly, respond to the global development needs? So maybe we see that we have two different points of view here. We have a real controversy. I can ask each of you, Matthieu, COURTECUISSE, what are the main risks that you see with the emergence of AI? And Elisabeth, MORENO, what do you think are the advantages we can draw from this evolution? I will respond right after, but maybe a little anecdote concerning Africa. I don't know if you know, today OpenAI employs 4,000 people in Kenya to work on models. So Kenya is associated as a strategic country to development of these models to work on the codes. So there are opportunities that are there in the value chain. So with a view to the risks linked with AI, it depends on the nature of the risks and for whom. I tend to see more the opportunities, the big challenge being the social acceptance or acceptability, which we need to have. And also, as Elisabeth mentioned, there's the energy consumption, but there's a little bit of hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel with the in-media chips that consume a lot less energy. This opens up perspectives and opportunities that we didn't imagine. Just look at the energy consumption of what we call in France GAFAM. You take a company like Meta, its energy consumption increases of 4 to 5% compared to an enterprise whose revenue increases by 30–40% per year. So these enterprises do a lot of engineering and offer new perspectives for better control of the direct use of AI, knowing that in parallel we also have uses of AI that enable to work on environment transition, ecological transition. So here it's a concern for public authorities to know if it should be more involved. So in terms of challenge, I think there's the protection of data, personal data. And the little exercise we did with AI earlier was a good example. Copyright laws, people work for hours and hours and hours to publish a book or produce analysis or data of which they can lose ownership because anybody can reuse them. And there's also the issue ethics, because AI is just a tool. If the tools are misused, it can represent a danger. Also, planetary regulations. This has to be regulated and hard to achieve because the biggest producers of these tools have such a power that there is no world regulation today that can protect individuals. I spent 20 years of my life in the world of technologies. I have faith, I believe in technologies, a lot of advantages can be drawn. I think 2 or 3 examples to this effect. Raise your hand if you remember the film Avatar. Avatar, yes. Okay, well you see, I'm crippled, I have a handicap. I was fascinated to see how this soldier, who in the real life could be in a wheelchair and who, thanks to artificial intelligence, thanks to, we could say, by using a virtual reality headset, you can be an aging person in an old pension home, or you can be physically disabled, you can be a person who doesn't have a lot of financial means, you can't travel. Well, by staying at home in your chair, or in your bed because you have a disease, an illness, you can transcend all geographical barriers, all physical barriers, because what you live, what you experience in this metaverse world that is being created, well, you live in a virtual world, but you live by feeling the emotions as if you really live them. So I think there's a progress to enable us to travel in time and space. It's wonderful. I saw another example that was that really I found striking. Is a mother who had lost her daughter at the age of 3, and she just couldn't recover. And the psychologist decided to use artificial intelligence so that she could say goodbye to her child, and so that she could get an answer. As a mother myself, I figured, oh my God, this is going too far, and I figured what she was saying enabled her to recover. But what would have happened if she had really been hooked to this virtual image and she couldn't be separated from this image. Well, we're at the time of our humanity where we tend to stay with ourselves because we're so despaired. So what will happen if we consider that the world in which we live is so terrifying that we prefer to find refuge in this virtual world, because there we're beautiful, we're intelligent, we're rich, we have capacities and everything. So I see these possibilities of transcending us and transforming us for the better, but I see again these inequalities linked to the fact that one, it will not be accessible to everybody. Second, that there's no real regulation, and third, not everybody understands how it works, and consequently there are dangers that we ignore. Thank you. Thank you to both of us. Time is up. We'll have to stop here.